Hello, my Teaserking family. How is everybody doing today? Hope you're all well. Luke, if you're listening, I sent you an email about tonight. Looking forward to it. Just it's an hour drive for me, so please just verify everything's fine, and uh, and I'll email you, or if you want to give me your number, I can text you. Uh, if you want, give me your number, and then I can text you. I'm leaving, and I'm on my way, and I'm almost here. Just in case there's construction, I have no idea what's going on in Toledo. It's about an hour drive for me. So I'm going to go swimming, and I'll leave from swim probably about 5. So I should get there around 6-ish. So, but I want to, if something happened, I want to be able to tell you that. So at this point, I'll send you an email. I'm leaving, and then where I am. So we'll see. But it's whatever you want. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you. It sounds good. And speaking of gold, um, gold is up. It's 33.50. So it's not bad. It had the 10 o'clock drop, which I knew would be good news because I knew that would make it go up. Yeah. So as you can see, it was sitting about 33.60, and then that 10 o'clock drop. But when you see the drop at 10, it's gonna go up, right? So it drops from 33.60 to 33.38. $20, and then here it comes right back, because at 10 o'clock, whatever happens, the US does the opposite. So if it drops like it did, then it's cheaper for the US to do their options, and so they get the option at 33.37 instead of 33.60. That's the whole logic. It's all bullshit. Silver 33.48. Okay, Luke. Well, I got pretty much the direction. I know it's not in Toledo; it's close to it, and I'm not too. I've been to the Hollywood Casino there a lot, so it's probably right around there, just on in a different city. But I think the city's close. Yeah, I just saw the email. So here's silver 34.48. It got to 34.80, and then it died. Um, Okay, so I'll definitely see you tonight, Luke. I'll leave around 5, so I should be there shortly after. Prophet. Well, okay, so Luke, I'll see you then, and I think once I'm out of on 275 for about 10 miles, I should be fine. The major highways with all the rush hour, I think's a little bit slower, but I'll be coming from the club, so I miss a lot of that. So we'll see. But yeah, that sounds good. And okay, profit. Well, profit. I mean, there's several things that there's options on. How are you getting it? Right, you're getting it delivery. If I were to send it to Egon, I would probably ship it to him. Right, I'm not going to Switzerland to give it to him. So you might do a FedEx thing as opposed to a meeting, and then if I'm not selling it, there shouldn't be any tax or anything with that, and I can go to my store and ask them, hey, I just want to turn this into ounces, and I don't think he'll have a problem with that. He might give me the money, but I really don't want the money. I really want the ounces. And then we would need a way to give you back the ounces. That's why it was easier to come here. But I'm not sure you need to say it's business. you're not really looking to sell it. You're just trading it. So I'm not sure what you really need, but to me, you're just coming with it and we'll turn it into ounces and then that's it. So I don't really see that taxes and all that other stuff you're talking about because this is not a business. You're not doing this as a business. I mean, if I went to Montreal and brought some gold and sold it, it's not really that's not my business. This isn't your business. In other words, if you got a Mickey Mantle card and you came here to sell it at a card show, it's not really your business. You're gonna sell it, but that would mean your business is actually you actually have a baseball card business and you buy a lot and sell a lot. That would be a business, but you don't have that. That's not what you're doing. So I don't know that uh, you're going to do that. It's a gift, which you can clearly show, and you're just really trading it for one to the other. That might be the best way. I just to ship it. Yeah, well, that's why we got to weigh our options. But I'm not sure you're a business that you couldn't just come here and we could go to the store and you could tell them and you could switch it and then drive back and nothing you didn't buy or sell it, nothing really happened. You just switched the bar for ounces. um, so that would be my advice is I'm not quite sure you're a business. I'm a professional handicapper, so Teaserking is my business and I do it as a business, right? But economics I don't do as a business. I don't charge anybody. I'm just teaching. So not really sure about that. But you could ship it as an option. You could not, you're not claiming it as a business. So you're just coming over and you just wanted to talk to some, jewelry people about it. But you're not really trying to, you're really not even selling it. You might sell it to buy the other, but it's a wash. But maybe they can trade it. But that might take a week for them to get it, order the 88 ounces, and then give it to you. Now they will ship, but I don't know if they'll ship to Canada. I assume they will. They ship me gold in Alabama, the store. So when I was in Alabama, I gave my credit cards to give me a couple ounces of gold, give me some silver, and 2 days later I got it. But they knew me, so they had no problem with my credit card. So that's where we're at. So anyway, gold 33.50. So it's moving up. It's staying. So we got our big day yesterday. This is always a drawdown day today. I would say tomorrow or Thursday, you're going to see a jump. The economy's in terrible shape. Real D, how are you today? Good to see you. Happy Tuesday. We're in June. Gold's up. I know I won the Frisco game. I don't know about that. Thursday, we're taking OKC. Well, we got to get the spread. I haven't seen the spread yet. Well, I guess I can see it, but we'll get that in. We'll get into sports. Anyway, so gold's doing fine. The one drop, the bullshit. We're getting rid of that, of the COMEX soon anyway. July 1st, Basel III should kill COMEX pretty much, or they're going to have to meet what China and Russia want to sell it for. China's telling Trump to fuck off in a lot of places. He's sitting there. Trump keeps threatening, and China just laughs at him. We don't need you. We sell to other countries. We don't really need you because your dollar isn't worth crap anyway. So do they even want, they don't, nobody wants the dollar. The dollar's collapsing. The stock market's a bunch of bullshit. It's just people keeping it up without even looking at the stocks. Oh, Coca-Cola missed earnings. Well, we don't care. We'll buy it anyway. Or Disney. Who the hell's paying $75 a person to go to Disneyland? You got to be kidding me. All right. So that's gold today. And we'll get into our YouTube stuff in a little bit. Daria's feeling okay. I'm happy for her. All right, let's look at baseball yesterday. So Colorado actually beat Miami. We had Miami. How could you not? How could you take Colorado? Now they got 10 wins. Milwaukee 3, Cincinnati 2. This is tough. You got a 5.19 pitcher going against a 4.66 pitcher with teams that can hit, and it's 3-2. So I had over 9. I lost. I had Boston. They lost to California 7-6. Fitz, his ERA went from 1 to 5 after this game. This is the problem. They don't pitch much. You don't have enough data. This is my football point. You get a new quarterback like Cam Ward. You have no idea what he's going to be. Well, we know he's not going to be good, but you can't. This is why I say, like, a new coach. The Lions coach went to Chicago now. You don't have any data on him. You need a good 9-10 games to really figure out if they're going to be good or not. So a lot of teams, we kind of have an idea, but anytime you get that new coach, you get that new quarterback, you don't have data to bet it. And that's my point here with Fitz. 0-2 with he had like a 1-something ERA, is now a 4.7 ERA after only 3 games. Detroit beat Chicago 13-1. I do have Chicago over 8. Did get a winner. My 2-unit game. Frisco under 7.5. San Diego wins 1-0. That is a winner. The important game is the winner. Minnesota under 9 wins 10-4. Why did I go under in this game? Well, Joe Ryan with his 3-2-3. And we had the Dodgers over 9.5, and they lose 4-3. Huh. So we go 1-1 yesterday. We hit Frisco under 7.5, and we lose the Dodgers over 9.5. It's a really weird game. There wasn't a lot of action. And this, I have 2 winners and 5 losers after dominating on Saturday, or Sunday. I mean, there's nothing you can do. You just play the theory. You have to have a plan. You have to have a theory, and that's what you use. Oh, tell me I don't have Kleenex. Oh, I do have Kleenex. I always have Kleenex in my pocket somehow. So you must have a plan of action to make your bets. You have to have the reason. Why am I betting this game? Good pitching, bad pitching, an Ace Freed going, Scanes going, or nobody, or just terrible pitching. And then you bet it, and it's not going to win 100% of the time. That's why you make small bets, and you hope you win a lot more, and you keep going. And that's really all you can do. It's the only option you can do. And otherwise, how are you going to pick? And you will have no idea. So at least have a theory. Now, again, you've got bad managers who take their guys out after 4 or 5 innings. So you're betting the pitcher, but then the pitcher you're betting the pitcher, let's say 7 innings. And then based on the bullpen, some teams have great bullpens like Cleveland, and some have lousy bullpens. I think San Francisco's got a bad one. But you base it. I'm going to get, if it's a good pitcher, let's say, who's a good pitcher? Scanes. You assume you're getting Scanes for 7 innings. That's all you can do is assume 7 innings of Scanes. He'll probably give up 0 to 2 runs. Who's he pitching against? If he's pitching against a terrible pitcher, Pittsburgh should score 5. If he's pitching against a good pitcher, Pittsburgh won't score any, and then you bet the under. And that's your logic. It's the in-between guys. So like here, Chase Dollander, 2-5 with a 6.28 for Colorado. What the hell do you do with this game? Colorado's now 110. They're 10-50. So that puts them at 20-100. So they win 25 games and lose 100 and whatever, 162, 25 and 137. And they're a professional team. No hitting, no pitching. 2-5 with a 6.28. How the GM of Colorado doesn't resign is beyond me. He should quit, because if he's producing this and his pitchers are 6.28 and 7 at 80 ERAs, and these are the best he's got, and he can't hit. He's got 2 or 3 hitters. What is he doing? Oh, we're just trying to make money on the TV contracts? No, that's not the business. The business is to get a winner on the field, to draw attendance. All right, so let's look at today. Miami 175 and 8. Again, these don't start till 6:40. Miami 175 and 8. Chase Dollander 2-5, 6.28. Sandy Alcantara. He was really good last year. He sucks this year. 2-7 with an 8.47. How do you have an over-under of 8? Are you seriously? No, Miami and Colorado. I updated their things. Miami is down to 3, I think 3 hitters. And Colorado has 2 hitters. So there's not a lot of hitting. And you got terrible pitching. And this is probably what we did. Well, yesterday we just took Miami. This is very difficult, because with these pitchers, you should get more than 8 runs. And this is where the guy who hits 210 all of a sudden, or the 190 hitter gets 3 hits. I saw that on one team the other day. He's hitting 189. He got 3 hits, 4 hits. DJ, not Matthew, but Mateo or whatever, the guy on the Yankees, the second baseman, DJ, used to be a 300 hitter, and he's down really low. And then he got 3 hits against the Dodgers. I think on Sunday it was like 3 for 4 or 4 for 4, batting 8th. I had a DJ LeMahieu, and all of a sudden he, we went off. But he's a 300 hitter most of the time, so that's kind of where you're surprised that he's hitting 220, but you think he'll wake up. So what do we do here? I think you got to go over 8. I'm not going to bet this, but I would go over 8, just on the fact that both the pitchers are bad. I can't see Colorado having a good bullpen. Maybe Miami does. Miami's only won 23 games, which is the problem. Yesterday I took Miami, but they're so bad they can't even beat Colorado at home. There's a problem. Houston at Pitt. We got Scanes. Here we go. Pitt minus 160, 7.5. Houston, pretty good team, 32-27. Lance McCullers, 0-1 with a 5.89. He was really good, and he was on the injured list, and he's just coming back. Against Scanes, 4-5 with the 2.15. Talk about bad luck. Now, you can't say Pitt will win, but you can say it should be low scoring. Now, will they hit Lance McCullers? They don't have a lot of hitting to begin with. This could be a 3-1 game. Houston could hit Skate. They got pretty good hitting. Altuve, basically. But I don't see Skanes giving up too much. He should pitch 7 innings. Really should pitch 8, but here. So I'm going to go. I'm just going to take Skanes here. Or do I take it under? Let's go under. I don't trust Pittsburgh's hitting. Under 7.5. And this will be our first play. I think anytime you've got Skanes, you either bet Skanes, but the problem is their hitting's no good. So it's sort of like the Houston Oilers in football. Very good defense and no offense. And so they tend to be, you're going to bet them under. You can't count on them to win with the defense. But that's what his Skanes is. I heard somebody use my analogy on the radio the other day. Well, the pitchers are like defense in football. Yeah, where'd you get that from, fella? So it's a strong defense will shut you out. And so like that Georgia defense that gave up 7 a game a few years ago. We didn't bet Georgia to win very often. We bet the under most of the time because the under was 50. The one team's not going to score, so that leaves Georgia getting 30, and we're way, and that's exactly what happened. So it's the same thing here. You've got Pittsburgh with the under with this great defense. So Houston's not going to score a lot, but you can't trust Pittsburgh to win the game because they can't hit. So it's a one-dimensional team, a good pitcher. And Houston with Altuve, decent hitting. McCullers, he's better than this, but he's just coming back. So we'll see. But I'm going to go under versus Gaines. You can go either way. The total of 160, the money line 160, the total 7.5. The Cubbies in Washington. The Cubbies are playing really well, 37-22. The Cubbies 150 and 9.5. Cade Horton 2-0 at the 3.98 goes against Trevor Williams 3-5 with the 5.69. The Cubbies are a 150 favorite. They didn't play yesterday. Cade Horton, Trevor Williams. I mean, you can't trust Wilson. I mean, maybe you can take the Cubs here. Yeah, we'll go with the Cubbies, but no bet. It's hard to bet Cade Horton. I don't know. At the end of the day, Cade Horton's a little better. You can't bet on Trevor Williams with the 5.69. The Cubs have a lot of hitting. They should hit it. They should win. They're the better team. You're laying 150, so I do like the Cubs. Cleveland at the Yanks. The Yanks just don't hit. The Yankees are minus 200. Cleveland's 32-26. The Yankees 36-22. The Yankees are 208 total. Tanner Bibby 4-5 with a 3.86 is a very good pitcher. Rodon 7-3 with the 2.60. This is all over. I'm going under 8. I'll go 2 units. Bibby's very good, so don't think like he can't pitch. And Rodon 7-3 with the 2.60. So they're good under pitchers. Is this the day that Aaron Judge goes 5 for 5 and hits 12 homers? You know, and him and our Goldschmidt. But the rest of the team doesn't hit much. I think they have a few hitters. I got 4 hitters is all. You got some weak hitter, but now you got DJ LeMahieu, who's a 200 hitter who's starting to hit now. He banged out 4 hits Sunday against the Dodgers. Let's see what he does now. If he gets hot, then that makes a big difference. Philly and Toronto. Now, I warn you about Philly without Bryce Harper. He's not been in the lineup the last few games. I don't know, because all of a sudden they're not scoring runs. Being analytical, I dig in and I go, well, why isn't Philly scoring? And I don't see Harper in the lineup. That's why they're not scoring. They're 300 all-star. It's not in the lineup. Philly at 138.5. Christopher Sanchez 4-1 with a 3.32. Bowden Francis 2-6 with the 5.04. It's tough taking Philly without Harbor. It's probably more of an under, but it's hard to go under with Bowden Francis with the 5.04. So Philly should hit him. So let's go Philly, but we won't bet it. Philly is just, I mean, there's still a strong team. A lot of ex-Tigers on it. And Sanchez is good. Toronto, I mean, they got a couple of guys, but that's it. They're just not strong. Milwaukee, Cincinnati. Now I played this game over yesterday, and it was 3-2 or 4-3. They didn't get there. Cincy 125, 8.5. Cincy with 4 hitters, and Milwaukee with 4 hitters. I did update their stats yesterday. Freddie Peralta, 5-3 with the 2.77, and Hunter Green, 4-3 with the 2.63. Now this is an under. This is Milwaukee under 8.5. I'm going to go 2 units on this. I mean, partly it was an under yesterday. It was 4-3 or something. Mostly because I got a 2.77 and a 2.63, who are normal starters, 5-3 record, 4-3 record. I've heard of both of them, so I know they're legit starters. Should go 7 innings, and neither team has got that great of hitting, and they couldn't hit yesterday. If I played it over, believe me, they were going against weak pitching. So to see this, it's a different story. California plays Boston. I had Boston and lost. California won like 6-5. California's starting to hit. Look at the last week or two. Boston 130-9. UC Kikuchi 1-5 with a 3.06. Brian Bello 2-1 with a 3.83. Hard to go under at Fenway. So I'm going to go Boston over 9. I think it was high scoring. I'm not going to bet it. Arizona at Atlanta. They're both 28-31. Atlanta's been getting better. They've gotten some of their all-stars back. Atlanta 150-9 in Atlanta. Zach Gallion 3-7 with the 5.54 against Spencer Strider 0-3 with the 4.50. We're going over here. They can hit, and the pitching's weak. Atlanta over 9, and I'll go 2 units. There's certain teams that you can count on. And this has been my whole method and theory for years. The Steelers, the 49ers, the Cowboys, New England, Jimmy Johnson at Miami of Florida. You look for the coach and you look for the team that is solid. You trust them. As I said, you want to trust Montana. You want to trust Lawrence Taylor. You want to trust, the Steelers, the 70s Steelers. You could trust Brady. So you trust Mahomes. We trust Joe Burrow, and that's about all we can trust in the pros now. One guy thought Jim Harbaugh was a good coach, and I'm thinking this guy's on drugs or something. Jim Harbaugh is a terrible coach. He screws up more big games than anybody I've ever seen. Both the Giant games, and this guy's a Giant fan who should have been happy. They fumbled punts. And then the Lawrence Taylor game, that was the 49ers. But in both of the 49er games with Harbaugh, they fumbled punts against the Giants. Should have been the Niners in the Super Bowl, not the Giants. Should have been the Niners, New England, which would have been a much better game. All right. So we're going Atlanta over 9. We can trust these teams to hit, and they're pretty good, and the pitching sucks. Texas and Tampa, they're both like 29-30 wins. Tampa's 135-8. Tyler Mayo 5-2 with the 1.64. Drew Rasmussen 4-4 with the 2.33. That's good. Texas under 8. We'll go 2 units. So we automatically see the ERAs, and we automatically kind of know Texas doesn't hit, Tampa doesn't hit. So by now, we've been looking at the stats. We have an idea they don't hit a lot. And then we see this pitching. Tyler Mayo, 5-2 with the 1.64. I mean, this is going to be a 3-2, 2-1 game, and we're 8. So, yeah, this is the game I want to bet. Good pitching and weak offense. So it's, again, like Georgia playing some team that, can't move, like playing Iowa. Right, Georgia played Iowa. It would be a low-scoring game, and Georgia would win, 20-0. Detroit at Chicago. I do not have pitchers. Detroit's 170, 8.5. Those are give me pitchers on the inside. So the Tigers have pitchers that are injured. Jackson Joby, 15-day DL. Reese Olson is also on the 15-day, due to come off soon. And Chicago doesn't has 3 pitchers on it, but who knows? Let's see. No, I don't know. I can't find the pictures on this site. I can look on others. I don't think it really matters. Um, let's go Detroit. And we're not even going to. Detroit just killed Chicago, so we'll take Detroit here. KC St. Louis. St. Louis 145-9. Michael Lorenzen 3-6 with the 4.33. Andre Palantine 4-3 with the 4.23. So 2 kind of weak pitchers, but 2 teams that don't really hit. KC against Detroit, it was all they could do to score 2 runs. St. Louis, they're not much better with hitting. Total of 9. You got 2 pretty bad pitchers, but Lorenzen, I've heard of him. He can shut you out in St. Louis. ERA's basically even at 4.33. Do I got any hitting? KC with 5 hitters, although he didn't show up against Detroit, and St. Louis with 7 hitters. Okay, we'll go over. Let's go St. Louis over 9. And I'll have to double check the hitting, but not a bet. Baltimore at Seattle. Baltimore is not very good this year, 22-36, and Seattle 32-26. Tamiaga Sugana 4-3 with a 3.23, and George Kirby 0-2 with an 11.42. Holy shit! What do you do with this guy? And yet Seattle's a 140 favorite. I don't see how Seattle can be a favorite in this game. And your pitcher's got 11.42 ERA. Even if he only goes 2 or 3 innings, they're going to give up 3 or 4 runs then. I got to take Baltimore here, but again, I'm not going to bet it because I don't trust the teams. I don't trust Baltimore to go and win here. They only won 22 games. Seattle, I can't trust with an 11.42 pitcher. So now you start to see the theories break in of how you pick. You've got the variables that are needed: pitching, hitting, and then it's at Seattle, and how are they playing? How's Baltimore playing? So it's the same theory for most sports, but it's more defined in football because we know we got Mahomes and we know what their defense looks like. That's what you're getting every year, every week. You might get somebody injured and the replacement comes in who's going to suck probably, but you've got Mahomes, you've got Joe Burrow, you've got Barkley, Brock Purdy, whatchamacallit, Stafford. You know what you got with those guys, and then it's the defense. But they're going to be there every week. So you're not like in baseball, you got different starters. All right, the Niners, 165, 7.5, playing the Chargers. Very good football game. Ryan Bergert, 1-0 with an 0-0. Landon Roop, 3-4 at the 3.54. Ryan Bergert, is he probably a reliever? Yes, sir. He's got a bunch of 1-inning games. So you got the reliever going, which is always curious to me. Frisco with the Landon Rupp, 3-4 at the 3.54. Who do you trust? So it's a little difficult there. Who won yesterday? We had Frisco under 7.5. So you didn't have scoring, but I think you had some good pitchers if I went under. At least when I go under, I know the pitching was good. That's why I bet it under or over. A lot of times, I come home after the pool and have dinner, and then I see the scores, and I don't know if I if I went over or under on the teams. Like Detroit yesterday, it was 13-1. I'm like, how did I play it? And I don't know. And then I looked at the pictures and I saw, oh, I played it over and I played it over 8, but the pitching sucked. But I don't know. I know I didn't take Chicago, and I know I wouldn't have went under with the Tigers against bad pitching. See, now the Tigers will look good because they beat Chicago. Who gives that's, come on. UCLA could beat Chicago. Who are you kidding? All right. So we got Baltimore. We've got, what do we do here? San Diego and the Niners. It's a dead even game. I'm going to go with San Francisco. I don't like it, but I got to pick something for you guys. So 3-4 at the 3-5-0 going against a 1-inning reliever. So then it's how strong is their bullpen? Then it becomes crazy. This whole bullpen day is just so ridiculous how stupid it is. Minnesota and Oakland. Minnesota 32. Oakland's now 23. I think they got on a 10-game losing streak. Minnie's a big favorite, 190-10. Pablo Lopez, 4-3 with the 275. Jacob Lopez, 0-3 with the 6.32. So we're going to take Lopez number 1. We'll go Minnesota. We're not going to bet that. Well, maybe we should. Yeah, it's 190. I think it's too high. So let's just take Minnesota here. In your last game, and the Dodgers are still playing New York. This time they got the Mets, and I believe the Mets won yesterday, 4-3 in 10 innings. Don't you love the overtime, the extra innings? They just start a guy at second. Like, why are we trying to end the game? So why don't we make it a 5-inning game if you're such in a hurry to end the game? Or why don't we make it a 1-inning game? All right, whoever gets it in the first inning wins the game. I mean, so what's the strategy of putting a guy on second in the 10th inning? It's bullshit. In a game that you have to earn your way on, you don't give up. You just go to second. The Mets and the Dodgers. The Mets actually have a better record, 38-22. The Dodgers 36-24. Everybody thinks the Dodgers are so good. They don't have the pitching. Dodgers 145-9. Tyler McGill 4-4 3.52 against Clayton Kershaw, who is not as good anymore. 0-0 with the 4.91. He had that stupid delivery where he hesitated and would get people off their timing, but it doesn't work anymore. And we now know he can't pitch. So I like the Mets here. Tyler McGill 4-4 at the 3.52. Kershaw's looking at the old times, so we'll go Mets, but we're not going to bet it. All right, let's go through it. Miami over 8, Pitt under 7.5 with Scanes, or you can take Pitt if you prefer betting on Scanes. The Cubbies, the Yanks under 8, Philadelphia, Milwaukee under 8.5, Boston over 9, Atlanta over 9, Texas under 8, Detroit, St. Louis over 9, Baltimore, the 49ers, the Vikings, and the Jets, Jets. The bets, Pitt under 7.5, Yankees under 8, Milwaukee under 8.5, Atlanta over 9, and Texas under 8. So we got 5 picks. Let's check Detroit if we can get pitching. Probably a very good bet if we can see. Let's ask Google. Probable pitchers. So Detroit's is the BD Turbine. Chicago's is Shade Smith. 1-3 with the 2.68. So not a bad pitcher. So we won't bet Detroit because we don't know who the pitcher is, if it's a bullpen guy or what. Let's check the FX for Russia today. 88 cents for the euro. Why is the euro stronger than the dollar? It makes no sense. It's not. Neither are strong. Both suck. It's such bullshit. You got to be careful who you listen to. Russia is 78.98. So I don't know what I do when I give Daria money. So I see that travel is down because I get a lot of travel because I travel so much. So I got my Google, it gives me travel, and it basically says, here's a title. So U.S. Here, the UK joins Denmark, Brazil, France, Germany, Italy, and India, and more in updated U.S. travel advisory warning of rising global safety risk. So the travel's down. Warns of rising global safety risks affecting travelers worldwide. This advisory reflects increasing concerns over violent incidents, crimes, civil unrest, and unpredictable security threats that may target popular tourist destinations. Transportation hubs and public venues urging travelers to exercise heightened caution and stay informed when planning. What are you going to do? You want to go or you don't want to go? All right. So let us go to here. So we've got Putin slams doors on departed Western firms, vows Russia. So McDonald's and these companies left last year when the tariffs took over. I've worked in bathroom remodeling. Yeah, nobody cares. So Putin slams door on departed Western firms, vows Russia will strangle those who try to return. I don't know what strangle means, but it's probably not a good thing. So you're dealing with McDonald's, Apple, let's see. McDonald's, Microsoft left scars on Russia's rises from the aftermath. McDonald's abandoned Russia, left 60,000 workers in a shattered supply chain in its wake. Not sure what McDonald's is doing. They need all the help they can get. So anyway, just companies that left, look out. So we've got U.S.-China trade war explodes. Trump's an idiot. He can't. He's like one of these coaches that, well, let's go. It's fourth down, but not understanding the consequences if he goes on fourth down. So Trump's doing all these tariffs, but he doesn't understand. It's not good. You're doing these tariffs. There's a negative to it that they just won't trade with you, and so he's causing this this great depression here. I was trying to type that in my title, but I run out. They only give me 100 letters, and I'm always doing 100 spaces. So if you put a comma in, but I'm always labeling it Teaserking and stuff. So that's how I'm trying to promote myself. So what you have is uh, Trump doing tariffs. The companies don't want to do business with us, and they say, "No, we're not. We're not going to sell you those Nikes or an Apple iPhone or things that now you've raised the price if we sell them to the US." Well, China's still doing them, but they're just selling them to Japan or Brazil or India or Russia or whoever wants to buy them. And in their currencies, not the US dollar. So it's a double whammy for Trump. If he's listening to Scott Bassett, means he's listening to George Soros, which is, you can see why we're in this trouble. The dollar's just about collapsed. Nobody wants it in the rest of the world. Here, it's different because we have we pay for everything in dollars. It just gets weaker and weaker. So you're paying back in very weak dollars. That's the key to understanding what's happening. Before I leave sports, so we've covered the baseball. Basketball's Thursday, so nothing there. Football, nothing new, at least this morning. Basically, it's Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson on the Giants. That first game against Washington could be an over. He does have that Neighbors, so he's got a good receiver from LSU. The defense is okay. That's not going to stop Daniels. So we'll see. Russell Wilson is much better than people think he is. I don't get the negative on him. Anyway, so you have that. So there's not much else in sports, just today's baseball. Okay, back to this. China's bank takes over. Trump's ultimatum backfires. Trump's bank takes over. U.S. shut out. What the hell is Trump doing? Again, he's fucked up. Truce is broken and it's war again. U.S.-China trade war explodes. I still don't understand this trade deficit. Okay. You're selling us goods, we're paying for them. That's a fair trade. It's a free, well, it's not a free trade, it's a fair trade. And there's no imbalance because we're giving them dollars for goods and services. Or we trade them electronic stuff or chips and they pay us or they give us other goods. So I fail to understand this trade imbalance. It's not real. It doesn't exist because we're giving them money for goods. There's no, and then what they're doing with the money is they were buying treasuries, which until you piss them off are now dumping all their treasuries and buying gold with selling us back our US dollars, getting their money and buying gold with it. So keep that in mind. There is no trade imbalance. You're just simply trading dollars instead of cans of tuna fish or whatever. They won't take your meat. They won't take your pork. They won't take your soybeans. They're buying them from Brazil now or Argentina or different countries. So, not sure what you're doing. You're pissing everybody off, Trump, which is, it's funny. I was watching this Vince McMahon thing on Netflix, and he was good at pissing people off. And I think that's what Trump was on there. And I think that's what he learned. He's just pissing people off, thinking he can intimidate like Vince McMahon. The difference was Vince McMahon owned the company. They were his employees. He basically could treat them any way he wanted to. Where Trump is not, we're not your employees, Trump. Neither is China and Russia. They're not your employees. You don't have any hold on them. There's nothing you can hold over their heads. So it's really stupid. He's trying to bully them. I don't really get what the fuck he's doing. So China just keeps aggressively having gold, as does Putin. He's got his gold. Um, China cancels the dollar, $6 trillion shock, and Trump doesn't understand what he must do to end the war. There was a drone attack. There was a drone attack on Russia. It took 18 months to plan, and they basically put the drones in these big trucks. And then somehow by satellite link, they opened the trucks up, and then the drones came out and shot down some airplanes that were grounded. So they were near air bases, and they just shot the thing. Well, okay, that'll work once. It's never going to work twice because now Russia's alerted to what you're doing. There's a thing, if you watch that movie Focus with Will Smith, and he says, well, we steal the credit cards, but we put it back in the guy's pocket so he doesn't realize that we've used it. Right. So that's the key, is you've got to not let people aware of it. Well, by doing these drones, you've just told Russia what you're doing. We're going to do drones on you. Oh, well, Russia's got their own drones, right? And Russia will figure out a way to defend the drones. They'll block the signal. I watched 24. The last season of 24, the crazy lady was gonna drone different centers in London, but Chloe figured out how to block it, and then Jack took control and dumped it into the water. So this is what they need to do, is buy the device from Chloe, and then they can stop all this from happening. But if it's on 24, it must be real. So that's what you think you would do, is get the get some device that blocks it. So if they do put it in trucks, they're not going to be able to mobilize it. Anyway, let's take a look. There's a Stoic one. Let's start with that. It's always best.
Carl Jung believed what you allow into your life slowly becomes part of you. Here are 13 Carl Jung believed what you allow into your life slowly becomes part of you. Here are 13 behaviors no man should tolerate, ever. 1. Passive aggression. If they can't say it directly, it's manipulation. 2. Emotional dumping. You're not their therapist, you're their target. 3. Guilt tripping. Jung called this psychological warfare in disguise. 4. Chronic victimhood. People who avoid responsibility infect you with their weakness. 5. Envy masked as support. Watch their eyes when you win. That's the truth. 6. Boundary testing. Once they break one, they'll test everyone after. 7. Blame shifting. If you're always the problem, you're not in a relationship, you're in a trap. 8. Silent treatment. That's not silence, that's control. 9. Consistent sarcasm. Jung said it's the coward's way to express hostility. 10. Disrespecting your time. The moment they waste it, they show you how little you matter. 11th. People who twist your words. Jung believed distortion of truth is a sign of a fractured psyche, and a dangerous one. 12. Those who make you doubt your instincts. Gaslighting is soul theft, and your intuition is not up for negotiation. 13. People who mock your growth. If they laugh when you evolve, it's because your healing threatens their stagnation.
Seniors are entitled to $25,000 tax-free money from the state. It's called a final.
What if the U.S. lost control of $6.1 trillion?
All right, so the Stoics are always good. Well, let's take a look at a few of these China ones. Let's look at.
Imagine this. China cuts the flow of rare earths. The United States slaps new tech bans. Wall Street calls it a bluff. And then the dollar starts to fall. Not slowly, relentlessly. 5 months straight, the United States just triggered a global panic, not with more tariff war, but with a spreadsheet. In May, Washington quietly threatened a global tax war towards trade talks and forced American banks to absorb a bond market no one wants to touch. Behind closed doors, even allies are cashing out. And while Trump calls it negotiation, the markets are calling it a crisis in motion. So if China won't fold and the United States won't back down, what crashes first trade trust or the entire financial system? In a move that defied logic and diplomacy, Donald Trump claimed he made a fast deal with China to rescue Beijing from internal collapse, alleging civil unrest and mass factory closures without offering any evidence. Bloomberg, however, reports no such breakdown occurred, and China's April industrial output actually rose 6.2% year on year. What followed was a 90-day tariff suspension struck in Geneva, where United States duties fell to 30% and China's to 10%. But simultaneously, the Commerce Department imposed sweeping new bans on China's access to chip design software and chemical shipments, with Reuters confirming that even previously granted export licenses were suddenly revoked on May 29th. While Washington calls it a containment strategy, Beijing's silence suggests they see it as sabotage. And the real question is whether this rescue was ever about stability or a setup for collapse. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent flew to Switzerland to prevent a market breakdown brokering a short-term truce that diffused $145 billion in reciprocal tariffs. Yet China's response was muted at best. According to CNBC, Beijing has not lifted its rare earth export controls or accelerated export licensing, despite agreeing to do so in Geneva. Trade Representative Jameson Greer told CNBC, "We haven't seen the flow of some of those critical minerals, citing delays in rare earth exports essential to AI chip manufacturing." Meanwhile, China's Ministry of Commerce argues the restrictions follow international practice and defend their pace as necessary for dual-use review. This isn't just bureaucratic inertia, it's strategic ambiguity. If Bessent believed China would return the favor, the early signs suggest Beijing's holding its leverage and Washington scrambling to reclaim credibility. Wall Street traders have turned United States trade policy into a punchline with a serious profit margin. The takeout strategy, Trump always chickens out, coined by the Financial Times on May 2nd, describes how equities dive after tariff threats, only to rebound when Trump walks them back. Case in point, the S&P 500 jumped 2.1% on May 28th, just after Trump delayed a planned 50% tariff on European imports. Vital Knowledge's Adam Kreitz-Fully noted that investors are becoming more comfortable with the White House's pattern, while Moody's simultaneously downgraded the United States credit outlook due to fiscal volatility. But here's where the trade gets risky. If Trump decides to prove he won't back down, this time markets that build strategies around his U-turns could be left exposed. This isn't just about stocks. It's about trust and the illusion that Washington still plays by rational rules. April's trade data didn't just disappoint, it collapsed. According to the U.S. Census Bureau goods imports fell nearly 20%, month on month, the sharpest drop ever recorded following the March Liberation Day tariffs. Consumer spending, which drives nearly 70% of U.S. GDP, slowed to just 0.1% growth in April, down from 0.7% in March, per the Bureau of Economic Analysis. That's not just softening demand, it's stall-out territory. Households who bulk purchase goods in the first quarter are now tapping into stockpiles instead of buying. And behind that slowdown, rising prices and uncertainty. The very tariffs intended to punish China are now hammering domestic consumption. But with U.S. exports also declining, the entire feedback loop of trade-driven liquidity is breaking down. If Washington's goal was to weaponize trade, it's now ricocheting back at its own economy. Since peaking in December, the U.S. dollar index has fallen nearly 5%. And according to Bloomberg, June is poised to mark its fifth consecutive monthly decline. That's not a blip. It's a confidence erosion. The Institute of International Finance reports that foreign holdings of U.S. financial assets, primarily from Asia, total over $7.5 trillion, built on decades of trade surpluses recycled into U.S. bonds and stocks. But with Treasury yields volatile and confidence in U.S. fiscal management shaken by partisan brinkmanship and erratic trade policy, even these historically sticky investors are reassessing. A weaker.
So what I'm saying what I've been saying is that the foreigners will pull their money out of the stock market and out of the banks, and that's what they're starting to do because Trump in these games, they don't know what he's doing. He's not leading. He's inconsistent. I'm going to put a tariff in. Well, that'll start in 2 months. What the fuck does that? You're supposed to lead, not follow. Yeah, Chloe was the best. She's the only one that lasted all the shows except for Jack. I just watched season 5 again because it was such a good one. But that's the president now. Is that guy from season 5 is Trump? He's just a moron basically. So you have Trump doing tariffs on things he needs. So if I need water, I'm not going to put a tariff on water and make it more expensive. What Trump's doing is he's tariffing water from wherever it comes from. Let's say it comes from Mexico. So he's tariffing the water, which is then makes it more expensive for everybody because he wants to get the extra tax and he thinks it's 37 million. And that's what he's crazy with. Why would you make it more expensive? We need the water. So we need these minerals from China and we need other things from China. And Trump's making them all more expensive to the point they take them. Now, I don't know about the grocery store shelves being empty. I haven't seen that here in Michigan. I go to Meijer, it's pretty full. I go to Walmart. I haven't seen any empty shelves. Pretty much as long as I can get my avocados and dark chocolates. I did see the dark chocolate 80s and 90s empty, but then the next time I went, they were full. So I don't know. It's probably more on goods we get from China than food. We'll see. But he's playing a very dangerous game because he listens to George Soros's guy. And he doesn't want success. He wants to kill the U.S., and that's what he's doing. So I don't know about these travel restrictions coming into the country from all these other countries who will go to Vegas and New York and Florida and California are like being warned not to go or what. So it's a very the economy's, I'm telling you, we're in a depression. They won't tell you that. You keep seeing the stock market go. Let's see where the stock market's at. And unbelievably, I mean, how can the stock market be up $190? On all this news, oh, you're telling me that investors only listen to CNBC or Fox, that are not giving you the whole picture? Really? I mean, according to them, the Ukrainians are winning the war against Russia, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. Russia's won the war. I don't get what these drones are doing. Like, if this was supposedly planned 18 months ago, the war wasn't even going to last 18 months. Attacking the military thing makes no sense. I'll show you that clip from the Colonel Hogan. Anyway, here's another Trump ultimatum.
In just 60 days, Beijing did what no warhead could. It shredded $100 billion in U.S. treasuries, swallowed 127 metric tons of gold, and planted financial beachheads in Hong Kong and Singapore. While Washington scrambled to weaponize global finance against Beijing, China wasn't retreating. It was laying the foundation of a new financial order, brick by brick, loan by loan. This wasn't diplomacy. It was conquest by spreadsheet, and America may have just triggered the fall of its own empire. In April 2025, behind closed doors, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent pulled a trigger, instructing the Asian Development Bank to freeze all new loans to China. The goal: cut Beijing off, isolate it from multilateral capital, starve its influence. But China didn't blink. It expanded. It didn't whimper. It roared. Within weeks, Beijing unleashed its counterstrike. Not with protest, but with precision. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, China's own creation, announced new branches in Hong Kong and Singapore. financial hubs that pulse at the heart of the global economy. This wasn't a counter move. It was a flag planted in enemy territory. The AIIB, armed with $57.4 billion in capital and 38 member nations, is no fledgling. It is a war machine in a banker's suit. Since its inception, it's already funneled over $52 billion into strategic sectors: power grids, railways, energy pipelines, the arteries of modern civilization. These were once the domains of the IMF and World Bank. No longer. China has turned development into dominance, loans into leverage. And here's the twist. Every dollar lent by the AIIB flows in a circle, out to foreign capitals and back into Chinese hands. Contractors, technology, supply chains, all Chinese. This is not aid. This is economic gravity, pulling nations into Beijing's orbit with promises of speed, steel, and sovereignty. The West offers red tape. China offers roads. Back in Washington, Besant tried to claw back leverage, tying a $4 billion U.S. contribution to the World Bank's Poorest Country Fund to reforms that would sideline China. But leverage is only power when the other side needs you. China, awash in trade surplus, isn't knocking on the West door. It's building its own house and offering the blueprint to anyone who wants in. Germany, the UK, even traditional US allies, all full AIIB members. Washington's allies are hedging, quietly defecting to a system that gets things done. The AI.
So what I'm hearing is the US cannot handle competition. So China is competing with the US and kicking its ass. The US wants to do they want to do things their way as if there is no competition. China's saying, excuse me, there is competition, and you can't deal with our competition. Now, China's broke also. However, 60,000 tons of gold kind of helps you out. So you hear these deals being made, and then you see everybody in the street, and they're all running because they're all broke and everything else. So the government is trying to survive, but they got to pay off the pensions and everything else. So they're trying to recover from the Evergrande collapse and the other collapse of the other company that went belly up in the real estate market, and all the people lost all their money. So the government makes these deals, but all the people are starving. Sounds like fun. So that's what's happening is the U.S. cannot compete with China or Russia. And so this is the big problem. And so here's China pulling everything away, dealing in yuan, not dealing in US dollars. And the dollar is gone because if there's no demand for the dollar, it has no value. As I always say, if I have no demand for Canadian Club, if I can't get a buyer, it has no value. Even though it's full of whiskey and I might have paid $50 for it, if nobody will buy it from me, it has no value and it's not worth $50. It's worth what somebody will buy it from. And if nobody wants the dollar, it won't be worth anything. And you can see how it's eroded. Go to Kroger's or go to Costco's or Sam's Club, and you see the higher prices. And that's basically it. The prices are higher. And with the higher prices, that means the dollar's not worth anything. There was something one of these idiots said about the inflation is 2.3%, and I'm just laughing, going, okay, let's take this as a simple case. 71 gold's $35 an ounce. It is now, let's call it $33.50. All right, that's 1,000 times or more. That's your inflation rate. So 2% inflation would mean gold's now selling at 2% of 35 would be $7 or something like that, right? 2% is, 2% 7. That would mean gold's $42 an ounce. It's not, it's a little bit higher. I don't even know. I might be like 10,000%. Well, we're supposed to do inflation year over year. Says whom? Oh, the Keynesians? I don't think so. Inflation started when gold was 35 an ounce. It's 33.50. That's 10,000 times because it's every 35. So 35, 70, 105. That's 300%. Right? 35 to 70 is 100. That's 200%. Take that from 100 to 3,300. So do that 33 times. Times 2 is, I don't even know. It's like 60,000% or something. And you want to tell us it's 2%? Well, we're just going year over year. Well, but that's not right. It's got to be back to 1971. You don't go back to last year and say that's the inflation year over year. Oh, well, it's only 2%, because you can't just erase the inflation that's happened. Like I say, Coca-Cola was 99 cents, went to $1.59, went to 3, now it's 3.60. So you can't say, well, we're just going to count from 3 to 3.60 or from 3 to 3 and ignore the 99 cents. No. It was 99 cents. It didn't. Inflation keeps going. So they keep scamming everybody on that inflation is 2%, when we all know the value of the dollar can't buy crap now. Like I said, all the meats were $13. At least I bought my steak on Saturday, was 13 something. And you're not getting exact a pound. It was a little bit more. I made the mistake of getting like a T-bone, because I had to pay for the bone, as opposed to getting a New York strip or a Delmonico where there's no bone in it. So even though it's a little more expensive, you're getting all meat. Let's see.
AIB is no longer just an alternative. It's the new standard, one that America didn't write and no longer controls. China holds a 26.6% voting share at the AIIB. One vote short of
Don't know what the
unilateral control.
AIB is.
One
Some
veto
bank.
strong enough to block anything. That's not participation. That's domination. It mirrors the U.S.'s grip on the IMF, but now the narrative is flipped. For people over 50 who didn't invest 20 years ago, I beg you, don't waste your time on random side hustles. That's not participation. That's domination. It mirrors the U.S.'s grip on the IMF, but now the narrative is flipped. The rules have changed. And China is holding the pen. Then came the UN. Quiet, subtle, lethal. The AIIB began encouraging nations to take loans in Chinese currency. Every contract signed in yuan, every bridge repaid in renminbi, chips away at the dollar's supremacy. It's not just currency, it's control. And once that switch flips, it doesn't turn back. Take Uzbekistan. A $75 million renewable energy loan from the AIIB looked like progress. But peel back the surface, and it's something else entirely. The turbines came from Chinese firms like Vision and Sana. Batteries? Likely BYD or KTL. Construction? Overseen by a Chinese state-owned giant. A March 2025 project brief revealed over 90% of expenditures would flow back into Chinese hands. This isn't development. It's industrial recycling, with Chinese firms eating at both ends of the table. And this isn't a one-off. It's the model. Infrastructure bundled with hardware, software, and influence. Development packaged with dependency. While Western lenders demand reforms, oversight, and local sourcing, China offers speed, scale, and certainty. No lectures attached. And for governments under pressure, that's a trade they're increasingly willing to make. Call it what you want. Debt trap diplomacy, strategic lending. But it's working. Each loan deepens ties. Each project plants roots. Each dollar builds loyalty that Washington can't buy back. America thought it could freeze China out of the global financial system. Instead, it gave Beijing the reason to build its own. The AIIB is no longer a counterweight. It's a keystone, anchoring a new financial architecture shaped by Beijing for Beijing. And it's spreading fast. At the ASEAN GCC Summit in May 2025, China unveiled a vision for a dynamic economic circle linking Southeast Asia with the Gulf. Within days, the AIIB pledged to ramp up lending in local currencies, especially the yuan, to reduce dollar dependence. The message was unmistakable. A new era is dawning, one powered not by U.S. influence, but by Chinese capital. With each project, Beijing redefines what power looks like in the 21st century. It doesn't roar, it hums, through data cables, shipping lanes, energy grids, and high-speed rails. And every time a nation signs on the dotted line, it steps further into a world where Beijing isn't just a lender, it's the architect of the future. What?
I don't know. They just showed us the high-speed trains are costing them billions of dollars because nobody's using them. They're too expensive. So I see this video, I see that video. I'm a little confused. I see where China's going, but let's not forget they're broke also. So they're trying to do deals. Nobody want the yuan. The yuan's not a good deal anyway, right? So nobody wants the dollar because of all the manipulation by Trump and the U.S. government and Scott Bassett. We're trying to bully people into using it and all that shit. and it's really not good. And that's what you got to understand. It's a very bad situation going on, and they're broke too. So they are taking things away from the U.S., but it's competition. It's not a monopoly right now, and the USA cannot compete. They don't have the intelligence to do it. They don't have the right people in place, and they piss so many people off that nobody wants to listen to them anyway. Right? So it's like that vampire I was talking to in the sauna, and he doesn't understand. When am I going to sell my gold and all this stuff? Now, if he tried to make a deal with me, I'd tell him to fuck off. I'm not interested because you pissed me off. And that's the problem with the U.S. You've pissed off so many people, nobody wants to play. And so you're trying now. You got competition. You can't compete, and everybody knows your $37 trillion debt is out there. However, China's got a $50 trillion debt. The key: China's got 60,000 tons of gold and having a gold-backed currency, and the U.S. doesn't. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to come to play. Excuse me. All right. So enough of that. Let's go to
was still fun?
The bedroom was still fun. Yeah.
Really?
I'm a lady. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but yes, he had all of
The parallel I've drawn, and I know I'm not the only.
All right, so let's look at what's happening with the Ukraine drone attack on Russia. They really gain nothing. So I'm in an interview and I say I add value to your company. We're here. I add value, helping you pick games and telling you about gold and silver. I'm adding value to you. What was the Ukraine value that they added versus Russia in the war with these drone attacks? They didn't add any value. All right, so they did an attack that planned 18 months, and they got, I don't know, 20, 30 planes. Okay. Well, Russia's got a whole shitload more. They make them, and all it did was expose what they're doing with the drones because they've run out of money. So Ukraine has no money. So that's what they've said. We have no money. We can just send drones, which I'm assuming you can easily counter that. If not, they will create that and they'll say, if like right now, if there's missiles, they can go and hit the missile. They'll see a drone and they'll go and take the drone out. Same thing. It is scary. It does remind me of Star Wars, where all the soldiers are drones and none of them are real. That's kind of what I view is here, all these drones. And again, I go back to 24, and then this is easily Jack could take the control and dump it in the water so it's not used. And if they can figure that out, I'm sure Russia and China can figure that out. And Russia is very smart, very smart. Putin, they did have that. They tried to kill him. There was an assassination attempt on Putin by Ukraine a few days ago. Ukraine's trying to get themselves nuked, I think, but Putin doesn't want to nuke them because there's a lot of Russian citizens living in Ukraine, right on the border there. So he doesn't really want to do that. He doesn't. He's got other missiles, but I don't know why he hasn't taken out Zelensky. It's just how that guy's still alive. I don't really know, but so this is another Colonel Daniel Davis, he's okay. Jack Keane, do not listen to him. He's an idiot. But I listen to McGregor, who is okay until he talks economics, and then he's an idiot. Oh, everybody's hoarding gold, buy Bitcoin. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You've got to be kidding me. Why would I buy Bitcoin if I want? I'm not hoarding gold. I'm collecting it like I would money. So if I have $1 million in my account, am I hoarding dollars? So how am I hoarding gold? So anyway, that's what's going on with it. So let's take a look at this. What was the gain by the Ukraine for doing this? Zero. all it did is piss Putin off, and they're going to have to pay for it. And I think they're retaliating. If not now, within a day or two, they will retaliate. And really, they just bomb these things. But there's no way that the Ukraine's winning or could win or close to winning. If this guy had a brain in his head, he would have done this. He would have made peace and let everybody live a normal life in the Ukraine. But that's not what he's doing. And so he's apparently, what did Jenna say today? There was a massive shelling at 4 a.m. This is in Odessa. This is where Jenna lives now. So he's shelling Odessa. There's nowhere really safe for Jenna there. Well, Odessa is probably very dangerous there because Odessa is one of the Russian cities, actually. So maybe it is safe because Russia won't bomb it, but will Ukraine bomb it? Ukraine's sending these bombs in, not Russia. So you got to be careful with that. Russia's they've got control of those 4 cities, and they want Odessa because they want the Black Sea, and that's that seaport, the whole sea there. I think it goes to the Mediterranean, the Black Sea. Goes into Romania, and then it keeps going up top until probably runs into Italy and the Mediterranean there. All right, so that's what's going on. So let's take a look at this. What value added did Ukraine just do? None. They're gloating over doing something to show hope or show whatever, but in the whole grand picture, all it did was piss Putin off. All it did was expose what you're trying to do. You're going to try to use drones because you've run out of money and you can't afford the missiles. And the U.S. has run out of equipment. They've given all this equipment to Israel and to Ukraine. We couldn't fight a war. We'd have to fight a war with, little pistols and hunting rifles, and we wouldn't have any tanks or planes or any of that stuff. It'd be very difficult. So we will see, but yeah, we're totally fucked from defending anybody. So if the cartels were to come in from Mexico, we couldn't do anything. They just walked through. All right, let's take a look at this.
When the German, it reminded me a lot of the Israelis blowing up all the members of Hamas with the cell phones and the communication devices. Well organized, planned in advance, and unbelievably well timed and successful. We had the same kind of thing. I mean, they from all reports, they planned this for the last 18 months. They were able to secretly shuttle in these drones and these prepared shelters that with the roofs that popped off on remote control, the drones launched in close proximity to the targets. And for what I understand is for a couple of $100 drone multiplied by a large factor, they were able to do about $7 billion in damage to Russian aircraft. That's pretty darn impressive. But does it mean that Ukraine will win the war? Headline in the Wall Street Journal op-ed piece by Bernard Henry Levy: drone attack shows why Ukraine will win this war. And something suggests to me that you're not going to agree with Mr. Levy on that one.
I've had over a dozen surgeries for skin cancer. When I discovered a non-surgical treatment
with Mr. Levy on that one.
Oh man, no, I definitely not. Hadn't seen that one. We'll definitely go look for it after we get off the air here.
Yeah.
But that is sheer fantasy. But let's first of all focus on what happened, because you said, and by all accounts, and I'm certainly in agreement, that this was a spectacularly executed operation on its own right, because it was done for such a long period of time. It was done with the cooperation of many, at least so far it's been reported, actual Russian citizens as well, people they recruited, etc., got to turn and to help Russia inside, knowing what they were doing. And then to keep it all secret for that long, And then to have it on multiple locations, hence the name Spiderweb, because it was all these different links to get together, and then to have the sophistication, the technological savvy to be able to get through any kind of attempt to block signals, for example, from the Russian side, to have it without being intercepted so that Russia didn't know what was going on. All that together was just really, really successful. But then we have to get to the consequence of it, and other than being a real bloody eye or black eye for Putin, it's not going to have any impact on the front line in the war that's going on. Where, by the way, overnight, Russia also continues to have significant progress going forward in the Sumy region. No one wants to talk about that on the Ukraine side because they want to bask in the glory of this. But the bottom line is, what does this gain you? And so far, I've seen that it has angered the Russian side. It has made more of the senior people in the Kremlin. And by the way, there's lots of reports that there is a lot of debate within the upper echelon of the Russian Kremlin and their leadership, that they want to respond much, much stronger than Putin does. Putin still apparently is looking for some kind of non-provocative. That's not going to escalate. Better phrase. It's not going to escalate it and get the NATO drawn in, but it's also strong enough. And apparently, they haven't come to a conclusion because they haven't said almost anything about it. But it ain't going to win the war for the Ukraine side, no matter what anybody wants.
Yeah, I actually fully expected an almost immediate retaliation. I don't know if you read the same thing I've read, where you get your sources, but they had amassed about 50,000 additional troops on the border there. The Russians did. I figured that they would just be unleashed into Ukraine and add to the already established zones that Russia is controlling right now.
Well, what we've seen, though, is that Russia is very strategically minded and patient, and they have been from the outset, and they have done things that issue near-term setbacks in order to get something big later on. For example, in the Kherson area, they willingly withdrew all their forces across the Dnieper River and surrendered all that territory to the Ukraine side because they calculated that they couldn't hold it, knowing that it would be a huge media victory for the other side and they would get the territory, but it would preserve combat power for later on. And it played out that way. Is that helped Russia win the Battle of Bakhmut later on? This place here, those troops had been there already. They're already part of this northern offensive that Russia has probably already started. So they're not going to rush into a new fight here. It's different than the slow pace they have because they want to preserve their troops and maximize the firepower to inflict casualties on the Ukraine side. So they're not going to change that. The only thing that might come is maybe some big, spectacular missile strikes into strategic targets where they haven't hit before. Maybe an Oreshnik missile, something that literally no one can stop at this point. But there may not be any of that either. In fact, one of Putin's former advisors went on the air almost immediately on a Western show and said that he didn't think there would be any because he said, "Listen, this is like the 100th time a Russian airbase has been attacked in the last 2 years. It's just the first time it's had this kind of success. So it's embarrassment, but it's not going to take their eye off the ball of what they're doing." So that could be how it's going to work out.
The broader implications of the success of this attack kind of have me worried. First off, I guess we have to view this through the lens of how this illustrates the changing dynamic of warfare. Much in the same way, usage of drones over the past military conflicts we've been in, since drones have been used, sort of reduce the need for manned aircraft. I mean, if you can send a $1 million drone in with no man in it and it can successfully complete a bombing operation, that's a lot better use of your resources than sending in a multi-billion-dollar F-35 that's got a pilot in it that you got to worry about saving their lives. So that's one component, but this has me a little more worried from a domestic standpoint. A lot of concerns about China grabbing up all this land around our military bases. And I think it would be pretty damn easy in a country as free and as wide as our country for them to,
we are having literally the best sale we've ever had on our award-winning Perry Valley grass-fed beef sticks.
Maybe get a whole giant drone fleet and launch it whenever the hell they damn well please. Like, for example, when the lights go out the day they invade Taiwan.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just China. And by the way, you don't even have to own any land, as Russia just demonstrated. You just have to have a drone. And just think, Russia is a lot more restrictive than the U.S. in terms of movement, though it's actually much more open than people think. And you saw the results of it there. But of course, here you can literally drive anywhere in our country. And I actually worry not as much about China, though that certainly is a big one on the front of the list. But, something like we talk about getting into a conflict with the cartels in Russia, in Mexico. We talk about sending the special forces like there's never going to be any consequence. But now we see that the opportunity here is so easy to do and so low cost. I fear that others may see what happened here and draw obvious conclusions. So I think that it's kind of like the genie's out of the bottle here, and man, we better be figuring out some kind of defense against this stuff as best we can right now.
Well, we saw that nut job throwing Molotov cocktails, obviously for political reasons. He hates the Jews and wants to kill all of them or something Looney Tunes like that. But also in the context of comments from the border security folks about the 2 million gotaways that we had no interaction. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they represent. Are they political? Are they perhaps cells that have formed and are just waiting for the orders to launch any particular given attack? I mean, that's a real problem for our country on a going forward basis.
Yes, it always is. That's one of the reasons I've always been such an advocate, no matter who's in the White House, that we need to have our secure borders. I've always said, whatever your immigration policy is, y'all figure that out. And whatever the Congress and the system of governments, whatever we agree to, whether everybody likes it or not, and they definitely won't, doesn't matter. But whatever the law is, abide by it and enforce it so that we keep ourselves safe, so that whatever the decisions are, we don't get anybody in like you're talking now where we don't even know who they are. And that's just an existing and a prevailing vulnerability of our country that we still have to some degree to this day.
All right, and let's return briefly back to Ukraine before we part company today. Daniel Davis. They still have a shortage of manpower that has not solved. The problem hasn't been solved in the week since we've talked last week. So that's the ongoing issue for Ukraine. I mean, successful drone strikes or not, they've got to keep guys on the front lines, and they have to have the hardware and equipment to be able to fight with the remaining people they have.
Well, yeah, and that's why the headline, like the one you cited in the Wall Street Journal, is embarrassing and just humiliating, because it doesn't even talk about what's actually going on the front line, which I mentioned in the Sumy area. It's continuing to go and forward. Another point to make on this big strike here is that the consequence of that also have to be considered. In Russia, a lot of them are calling this their Pearl Harbor moment. They got this strike and whatever. And then there's in the news I saw this morning before coming on your show is one of the writers in one of the op-eds of a military review in Russia said, this has been our Pearl Harbor. Now it's time for our Midway. So they do want some kind of a big strike in return. And as we pointed out on your show many times, and you just addressed here, the manpower imbalance alone, plus all the weapons, ammunition, everything else, is still irrevocably and decisively on the Russian side. So these formations on the front are going to continue on no matter what happened 5,000 kilometers from the front.
Any hope of them sitting down? It sounds like every time we hear that they're going to sit down and have some sort of talk to resolve this, it never does happen, or nothing becomes of it. Russia.
Brian, one of the most puzzling and maddening things about this situation is they had the second face-to-face meeting between Russia and Ukraine yesterday in Istanbul. Both sides entered by giving positions that were further apart than they were the previous time, that they both knew the other side would categorically reject. And that's exactly the way it turned out, because the bottom line is neither side wants a negotiated settlement. And that sounds odd, because you would think that the Ukraine side does, because they claim they do. The Russian side does. They claim they do. But you see that the Russians are like saying, yeah, if you agree to all these draconian terms, we'll stop fighting today, which means they have to withdraw from the territories where they still have some troops, et cetera. Demilitarization, denazification, all these things they won't do. Or we said, we'll just keep fighting. The Nabinsia, their UN Security Council ambassador, specifically said that at the UN Security Council a couple of days ago. But on the Ukraine side, you're like, wait a minute, you don't have anything to gain by this. If the negotiations fail, the offensive will continue on. And yet they sabotaged this so that there was no way the Russians would agree to it. And so we have to really ask, and it's an open question, what is the Ukraine and the Western European side trying to get done here?
A real quick question, because I know we're out of time. If, let's say, a miracle occurred and Ukraine said, okay, we'll agree to demilitarize. who would preside over, who would do the oversight that would provide sufficient, satisfaction for the Russians that they did in fact demilitarize? Is that a UN function? Is that a NATO function? Is it a function of the Russians looking over it? I guess I'm just curious to how that would work functionally.
Russia actually has addressed part of that question by saying it needs to be neutral observers, not NATO, not Russia, but like the OSCE or even other entities from like maybe the global south or something like that. So they actually have some working level issue on that, but it's not going to be U.S. and NATO. It's not going to be Russia and Belarus, et cetera. But I mean, I hope we get to the point where we have to worry about that the fighting stops. Actually.
Doesn't sound like we're anywhere near it right now. Daniel Davis, Deep Dive with Daniel Davis. Search for the podcast wherever you get it, and always tune in to.
All right, well, there you go. Zelensky doesn't want to quit because he'll be out of power. That's the problem. He doesn't care about killing 1.5 million Ukrainians, and poor Jenna has to hear rockets going over her head at 4 a.m. So it's a very stressful time, which is why I'm sure the way she acted when we were in Italy was due to all the stress from the war, which is why I kind of took it and said, well, I know it's because of the war, so I'm not going to fight it on her. And, so she probably knew she could talk to me that way, and that's why she did. Howard's, he's my man. He's 30. He's, I can talk to him like this and he's fine, which I let it go, but don't get too personal with me. And that's why I just took some time off and said, no, you don't be rude to me. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. And you got to be careful with that. And that's always the golden handcuffs. I mean, that's the problem. We go to work, right? We go to work and we got to zip it because they're paying us as if they don't need us, right? This is the problem with work. They need you. That's why they hire you. And you need them because they pay you. So you got to be careful how you act. But for some reason, they don't have to be careful the way they act, which always pisses me off. Like it's a two-way street, Charlie Brown. You need me. You needed a finance guy. That's why you hired me. So don't treat me like crap. You're eliminating my position, really? You need me. You still need me. Your place is a dump. You need me. That's why they're going to be out of business soon because they don't understand. I understood. They're talking about we only can spend what you got, and I said, well, no, you want debt because you want to pay back in inflated dollars. Well, that goes over everybody's head. That's why I do this because I can explain it and people will listen. I can't, when you're at work, everybody thinks they know what the hell they're doing. Even most of the Keynesians who are just clueless. So when I say look at gold, they don't have a clue. All right, is there anything else we want to see? We won't watch this, but maybe tomorrow. Ukraine-Russian war, where has Trump gone? Trump knows he can't do anything because Zelensky doesn't listen to her, and then Putin doesn't listen to him. I do want to watch this one, which is don't tolerate it from anyone, not even family. I think I do that anyway. See, then this guy, I don't know. Ukraine attacks 2,500 miles inside Russia is probably the drone attack, which, you better be careful because Russia will just wipe you out. Right now, you still have people living there, right? I don't know if Russia will nuke the Ukraine, but it seems like the Ukraine's asking for it. And I don't know, but Putin's not falling for it. He's got better missiles than nukes anyway. Anyway, let's take a look at gold. Where are we at? Stock market is up $230 for some reason. Amazing. Gold is 33.51, so we're holding steady. Silver up, no move, 34.48. It won't go over 35. They're not letting it. Why doesn't the Ukraine become a member of NATO? Because Russia doesn't want them to become a member of NATO. So here's that, and let's check Bitcoin. I mean, you got to be voted into NATO, but if Russia's saying you're in trouble if you do, Bitcoin's now 106. So it was 111, 104, 106. What's the real price? Don't know. And that's the problem with Bitcoin. So 33.51 going up at 117, and silver 34.48. So again, this is why Basel III will come in on July 1st. Right now on silver, the U.S. does not have to pay. So if I'm China and I take this option and I say, but I'm going to buy the option, but I want to take delivery of the silver. Right now, the U.S. doesn't give them they don't give them the silver. They just give them an IOU. And that's what this whole Basel III is. It says, no, you got to cover it. You got to have physical. They want physical. You got to T+1 day. You've got to do it. And what China and Russia are prepared, they have the vaults with the gold and silver to do this. And when you buy it, they'll just give you if you buy the gold, they'll give you the gold or the silver. And you have to trade in gold and silver, none of these options. So you can see how stupid these options are and how manipulated this is by JP Morgan, where they just simply, silver's up to 34.80. Let's do derivatives and knock the price down. But if you notice, the price is still sticking at 34.48. It didn't go all the way down to 32 like it did last time. Highly recommend buying silver before July 1st. I will definitely, I think next week, I get Social Security. I got unemployment today. I will go and get at least 10 ounces of silver. Again, what frustrates people about silver, if you have 1,000 ounces of silver and it goes up $100, you make $100,000. And that's what everybody's waiting for, because it's not hard to get 1,000 ounces of silver because it's cheap. Right? I can give you $500 and go buy 20 ounces, or 600, right? I can go buy 20 here, 20 there, and keep on buying, and it's cheap. And next thing you know, you've got 1,000 ounces, right? And then when you have that, then it goes up to 100. It's now worth 100,000. Right now, it's worth 35,000. There's a big difference, 35,000 to 100,000, right? And so that's why people are frustrated with silver. And how much does JP Morgan realize that? I don't think that's the issue here. I think the issue is more all the bullion banks are short silver and have to cover. And if it goes over 35 or 36, they'll have to cover. They can't, they don't have it. They'll all go broke. And that's really what this is about, not about they don't want us to get rich. That's not it. They don't know who owns anything anyway. And really, the rich ones are China and Russia, and India have a lot of silver, and I'm sure Saudi Arabia. So we're just waiting on the silver. Once it busts loose, silver, should be, at least $500 an ounce. So you got 500 ounces, that's 250 grand. All of a sudden, you're not too worried about the depression we're in and the inflation that we're in. Gold and silver are the hedge against the inflation. They're the anti-inflation. That's what people don't understand about gold. And the idiot who says, well, when are you going to sell it? And you're going to have to get back into fiat. And I keep saying, I'm not planning on selling it. I'm planning on letting it go. My biggest decision is when silver hits, let's do gold. Gold's at 33.50. And okay, I could sell some of it if I wanted to, but I'd be back in dollars. So I don't want to be dollars unless if I go on a trip, meet Daria, and I need money for the trip, then I might sell gold for the trip. That would be to use immediately for a purpose. and that's only an ounce or two. But in gold, the problem is, well, hell, I don't want to sell it now if it's going up to 10,000 an ounce. So I want to hold my gold till at least gets to 10 or 20 on its way up to who knows where. It's just going to keep going. Because as the world needs money, they're all the euro is worthless, the Swiss francs, the British pound, the Canadian, they're all worthless. You need gold because gold's the only money because you can't print it. And there's nothing the governments can do because what are they going to do? Print the euro too and print the US dollar too? And how long is that going to last until there's no confidence? So keep in mind, the confidence goes. That's why the dollar goes. And the rest of the world does not have confidence in the dollar. The US might a little bit more, but if you travel and you try to use it and you're going to say, shit, I can't use it. And that's going to be my problem meeting Daria or Jenna or whoever in Europe or in another country. I might have to fly them here so we can at least use US dollars. But that's it. You really have a tough time. I remember going to Italy. I had to use an ATM, and it was to get 200 euro cost me $260. So it's like 130, even though the FX rate's like 90 something. So it should be $100 should buy me 90. So 200 should buy me 180, let's say. So it should be 200. How did it get to 260? Right. So the rest of the world, they're just charging money on the bank. They're all going broke. So they're all looking for ways to get more money. So if you do travel, there's really nothing you can do. I would put an ounce or two of gold in your pocket just for protection, not really to need, but just in case of an emergency. All of a sudden your dollar's not going to work and your debit card's not going to work or your credit card's not going to work. You have gold. And for to put 2 ounces in your pocket, nobody knows, nobody cares. I don't claim them at customs because I'm not there to use them. Really, and when I give it to Jenna, it's a gift, and she's never had a problem like flying back to Poland and training back. She never has a problem. She doesn't declare them. She just goes through and just goes from go to the airport and then go to the train and she's home. So she doesn't declare anything. And these countries, the Eastern Europeans, the Romanias, I'm sure the Hungaries and the in Russia or in Ukraine, they don't waste time declaring. You don't declare there. You don't need to. Like maybe you have to do it here. I don't know. So this war is very expensive. It's not going to get you out of a recession, which is what the CIA has the wars for. But we're deep in trouble. These tariffs are failing miserable as they never had a hope of working. Trump's thinking everything will be the same. We'll just tariff you more, and then when you sell to us, we'll get $37 trillion on the tariffs. Well, that's not going to work. Countries aren't going to keep doing that. So you then the country retaliates, and then you need stuff that they're not going to send you. You need cell phones and you need batteries and you need the dirt and the minerals. They're not going to sell it to you. You fucked yourself. You didn't fuck them. And I would say most of our goods we'd probably make in America. So I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of that, or I would assume they're planning on doing that. And if it's something critical, I think Trump says, okay, no tariff on Cheerios or something. Avocados I can still get for $1. I don't know if they all come from Mexico or not. I think they do in the wintertime. In the summer, I think it grows in California, but in the winter it doesn't. Anyway, so keep that in mind. Prophet's question, why doesn't the Ukraine become a member of NATO? You have to be invited. It's like you can't just go to the party or you can't just go to the football game. You need a ticket. And they're not giving Ukraine a ticket because Russia doesn't want them to. So Ukraine's more Russian, and they're more of a neutral, and so they're not going to let Ukraine into NATO. And I'm not sure there's going to be a NATO anyway. It doesn't really do anything, and it's the U.S. wants them to buy military. So again, our thing is to sell military weapons. This is our strategy. We'll sell military equipment. That's how we'll get out of our depression. It's not going to work. It kind of worked in World War II because everybody was buying from us, Russia and England. But I don't think that's happening now. We certainly aren't selling. Well, maybe we're selling to Russia. I don't know. I wouldn't put it past me that J.P. Morgan sells to Russia and to Ukraine. But and then we got the other war in Israel and the Middle East. So we're broke now. Are we broke on purpose, or are we broke because these guys are idiots? I think it's a little of both. I think that I think Trump's an idiot, and I know George Soros is, and I know this Scott Simpson is. I don't know about, are they doing it on purpose to bankrupt us? I don't know what good that'll be. So we get on CBDCs. They're not backed by gold. They're worthless. Just because it's digital doesn't mean it has a value, i.e. Bitcoin and all the others, and OneCoin and Ethereum. OneCoin was a fantasy. It was all bullshit. It wasn't real. And she like made like $10 billion on it until the Russian mafia got pissed because they bought some of it, and and they said, oh, well, yeah, it's not real. And they haven't found the woman yet. In 5 years, she's probably been dead a long time. How is Bitcoin any different? Do you think Bitcoin's real? Can you prove it? Can you show it to me? No, it's all air. Oh, there's 21 million of them. Like, you really believe that? How can you believe that? How do you know? Nobody, you can count the coins. Like, I don't even know. Can you count it in the wallet? Can you count it on this general ledger that they use? I don't know. I mean, maybe you can keep track of it digitally, but that doesn't mean they're real. And, so you have 10 Bitcoins. Does it show Joe Blow with 10 Bitcoins? I don't know. I don't know what's going on with it. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, as they say. There's no advantage to having a Bitcoin. Again, it's not real. And how many times have we seen Ponzi schemes like Madoff? He didn't even buy anything, but people thought that was real, right? How many people thought Madoff was real? How many people think Bitcoin's real? And it's a disaster. Why do you make it difficult on yourself? Why don't you just buy fucking gold and silver? Have it in your hands. Here it is. I got 5 ounces of gold. We'll just pretend this is gold. I have 5 ounces of gold. Why do I need to make it difficult? Well, gosh darn it, I don't have the gold, but I have ETFs, which are worthless. I have Bitcoin, which is worthless. What are you doing? Why are you making it difficult? Well, because Bitcoin's worth $100,000 now, so it's moving. And geez, silver doesn't move. Well, okay, but the variables have changed, and that's what's happened in the world. China is now competing with us for the yuan and the money and the data and the intelligence and all the other things China does. They're competing with us, and we can't compete with them. And this is the problem. Now, China's not smart enough to take over the world because their money is worthless just the same. They do have this 60,000 tons of gold, which will obviously help them if they have kept it all, because a lot of it's shadow banks and pensions and mafia and the central bank. So there's different things. And then the people supposedly have more. However, will they be able to get to it? I doubt it. Oh, I'm at the bank. I want my gold. Anybody that would leave their gold in the bank in China must be out of their minds. So be careful with that. Anyway, I think that's about it. So today's games, again, baseball, Pitt under 7.5, the Yankees under 8, Milwaukee under 8.5, Atlanta over 9, and Texas under 8. all 2 units, nothing big. Probably Detroit also, if you want to bet Detroit over Chicago. But I'm not sure if the score. Chicago's pretty good pitcher, no hitting. Not sure about their bullpen. Detroit depends on who their pitcher is, but it still sounds like it'll be a bullpen guy, and that always you scratch your head over that. Anyway, I think we will see what else is going on. I'll keep my eye on YouTube and see what else I can get. And any other questions or comments? Luke, I'll see you near Toledo. It's a little bit outside of Toledo. I'll probably leave at 5, so I'll probably get there right around 6, a little after. So from here, I'll go swim at about 3, and then I'll be ready to leave by 5. 33.52 for gold, 34.48 for silver. So the guy, the vampire said, "Oh, the stock market versus gold," and I show, the stock market for the year is up 44%. Or gold's up 44%. The stock market's not up 44%. For 6 months, it's up 27%. The last 30 days, it's still up. Today, it's a little down, but people don't understand that it's up over. What is it? It's up over 44%. The stock market is not up 44%. It's sitting at 40,000, but it's not up. It's down actually for the year, but gold's up 44%. But we don't even look. See, we don't look at it as a stock. It is not. We're going to profit take it. There's no profit taking in gold. You just simply hold it and watch it go up. Especially now with the new variables of Russia, China, and BRICS, and the gold-backed currency makes gold much more appealing, higher demand, and then the dollar worthless, and the debt 37 trillion. And that's the thing going on with the economy is China is the new variable, Russia is the new variable, gold is the new variable, and we can't compete with any of it. We're just we're not really good at business. We just try to bully people and use our military, but even that's going because we don't have the budget for it. It's $1 trillion budget, but we don't have $1 trillion to give to the military. And that's the thing you got to realize. Our money is pretty much worthless. Don't ignore it and say, well, no, it isn't. Or, it's because it's just the shit's going to hit the fan like that. That's why I'm saying if you're out of the country, bring some gold because you don't know how long your dollar is going to last. So it's a very critical thing to protect yourself. Okay, Prophet, you can email me. Like I said, I'll be with Luke tonight, and I'll be at the pool, so I won't check my messages. I'll check them after the pool, and then I'll be driving, so I won't be able to check anything. And outside of that, that's good. All right, I will talk to everybody. Good luck today on the gold, on your silver. Go buy silver at $34.50. It's a joke. You're not going to see it under, once it hits, which we believe is around July 1st timeframe. Maybe not on July 1st, but the variables change July 1st, and it could be even sooner, where people will be buying it in lieu of July 1st. So it might start going up now, but you're going to see at least $100 silver on its way to $500 silver. And so keep that in mind. And we'll see if they kill the derivatives. Once China and Russia get it, it's going to be a much higher price. So you have no risk at $34.50 for silver. My guy's got $2 premiums, $36.50. It's like, what a joke that is. And that's it. So you've got that. So anyway, have a good day. I will see you tomorrow. And we'll look for YouTube, see what's going on. The Russian war is probably nearing an end. Everybody's running out of money to give to the Ukraine. They're running out of weapons to give to the Ukraine. It's not like France or England or the US has a lot of weapons to give them. That's why they're using drones. I mean, otherwise, why do they make these fancy planes and tanks? Just use drones for everything. Because they'll probably come out with a defense against the drones. Um, and, you got to transport them. So you got to fly them, that you can shoot them down. Or like here, they put them in trucks and did that, which is that ain't going to happen again. Once you play your hand, now I know what you did. Then they'll defend against it. So anyway, 33.53. Here we go. Let's get back. We should be 3,400 the next day up, which is probably Thursday or Friday. I think by Friday we'll see. We'll have seen 3,400, and hopefully it sticks over in the 34.50s. But this time it won't go down. Last time I got the 34.90 was because of some holidays, so it just went up and up and up and up and up. Then they bid it down and down and down, and now it's up, and you've got your downs, and now you move to 33.50. You'll soon move to 34, but you won't get the heavy hit down because they're doing the downs, and then they keep getting bought up. So there's no more big downs. So then you'll see 3,500. I think once we cross 3,500, I don't think 4,000 is going to be far off. So that's coming relatively soon. Probably by the end of July, we should be 3,500 easily. It's funny when you watch these shows and people really don't have a clue. They really don't understand the inflation is the dollars, not the prices. And it forces you to buy gold and silver. So the demand's huge, but they don't get COMEX. It's just paper bullshit. But as they buy for delivery, then you got to pay it. So you're going to have less shorts. All right. 33.53, 34.50 silver. All right. Have a nice day then. And take care. If you have a question, www.teaserking.com. You get my email. Prophet emails me. Luke emails me. Feel free to email me. I'll answer it. But right now, I like the live comments is fine, but you can email me. Certainly. I get a lot of emails for football. How do I bet this game, and who do you like here and who do you like there? So that's part of it. All right. Have a good day, everybody. Take care.